Good evening, everybody. It is Michael Sweet with Michael Sweet Journal. I'm going to be chatting with you about the week wrap up for November, first week of November. So, last week was the election week. So, I'm going to first talk about the week in review, and then I'm going to go and discuss a quick note on my thoughts on the election, which I don't really want to get into a lot of, just want to do a quick highlight on that. And then go into the topic of the evening, the numbers, the numbers, the numbers. Can't stress that enough, and I will give you an example why, a real life example why. So this week, last week in review was interesting. Now, when it's an election week, typically not going to see a huge amount of orders that week. They're going to be died back a little bit. I don't know if it's people are actually really concerned about the election and therefore don't want to put their orders in or don't want to do events during that time. Overall, it was a quieter weekend considering it's the first week in November, and for a bakery in Arizona, it should be a really big deal. There should be a lot going on, and it really was much less. So yeah, so last week's, there was more availability for me, for Priscilla, to work on some of the administrative stuff that we've been putting aside, the marketing and updates for the website to improve the functionality and more options for the customers. And that was really important because I discovered a lot of things. I actually have a whole like little booklet thing here that I have that is a lot of notes on what needs to be fixed on the website. And rather than taking down the website, I'm going to leave it the way it is because for the most part, they're items that have not gotten a lot of traction. So I'm not really worried if someone runs into an error, at least at the moment. But because the majority of the really good items are just fine, working great. Matter of fact, when it comes to weddings and birthday cakes, people are ordering online, and it's just much easier for us overall. And they're actually enjoying it, which is a good thing to hear. Um, oh yeah, in addition, so we're expanding, so we're going to try to get out of our cottage bakery scenario and start getting into a commercial facility. And we finally actually stepped foot into two locations just today, actually. And what was great about that was there are two different sizes. One's a 1,000 square foot, and the other one's 2,000 square feet. What's really unique about that is it kind of gives you an idea of what that's going to be like versus what you have now, and what the costs are going to be. And so you can actually build numbers around those to see if either of those is feasible for what we're trying to accomplish for the short term as well for the long term. And so it gave us a lot to think about, and honestly looks like we're really going to have to go back to the numbers and really consider what we are going to start with, and that is, are we going to buy lots of equipment? Are we going to use what we already have here? And what are going to be the major expenses to get in? What can the landlord provide us as far as tenant improvements? And then what any additional expenses we're not thinking about? And the overall issue is, how are we going to afford to pay for the monthly rent costs for the facility? Because I think that's going to be our biggest scare. Something that we're not really used to at this point for a large monthly expense that's going to hit us every single month and be really challenging for us. And Priscilla was telling me some of her thoughts. I really enjoy those, and we're probably going to put those to play when we start looking at the facilities. So, in doing that, and to bring back one of the meetings we had last week with our bookkeeper, it comes to mind the idea of understanding the numbers. And again, this is going to be the topic of the evening. But and speaking with our bookkeeper, really was emphasizing some of the restrictions that we were having because the total amount of income that we had or we have at the moment versus what would potentially be the size loan amount that we can get to accomplish what it is that we're looking to achieve in these new locations. So when we stepped into these facilities, we really got a gauge of like, wow, so we are going to have a lot of expense, a lot of overhead that we're not used to already, and could be really, really challenging for our bakery. But with that, based on the numbers, it is absolutely feasible that we can accomplish it. And one of the biggest issues that we noticed so far is simple fact that we have to turn away so much work because we literally cannot produce enough to take on the work, take on the additional orders. So we have to restrict the orders. And in doing so, generates the visual impression of what we could have gotten to if we took them all versus what we in reality what we ended up with because of those restrictions. And it was a pretty decent gap of money that was basically lost that we could not take on. We have, it's a one oven wonder, as I call it, here in the kitchen, and with all the hands we have, it's just not enough to compensate for, or to be even realistic in taking on so much additional work. So we decided against the idea of just taking on the extra work and instead enjoy what it was we had and not stress over what we didn't take. Okay, so yeah, so last week we had an election. And man, I'm not sure if you guys saw any of those memes that are going around. My favorite one so far is the Groundhog's Day, which is with Bill Murray, and he's looking at the camera, doing this news reporter thing. It's Groundhog Day again. That was classic. I love that. That was hilarious. Really summed up the whole thing. And we're going on a week tomorrow since the election, and as I say, it's election day again. Still waiting for results, but honestly, it looks like it's going to be Joe Biden. Whether you're for Biden or not for Biden, personally, I am not for either one of them. I think both of them are no good for myself, my wife, and I don't think they're any good for any business owner, especially small business owners who already struggle enough with the amount of excessive regulations and taxes. So I really am hoping for a very mundane next 2, hopefully 4 years as Biden takes over as president of the U.S. And then looks like it's going to be a Republican Senate. Depends on what happens in Georgia. And the House still in control of the Democrats, but a lot less, which apparently was very surprising for a lot of people and to myself as well. I honestly thought Republicans were going to get their butts handed to them, but that was unusual. It was an unusual thing to see. Here in Arizona, our state is most definitely turning blue, and that sucks. And the reason I say that primarily is that Republicans are no better in the aspect they're trying to go for more of a more nationalistic type of status foundation, and that doesn't really help us as small business owners. If I'm getting a cheap product from China that's quality, it's good, and it's within a price range that I can manage for my business, and I don't have to increase my costs onto my customers, then I want to do that. It's better for my end customers, better for my business, and it's better for me. It's better for the overall economy. Then on the other end of the field, where it's well, since you are prospering, let's take some more of your money and spend it on. Well, we don't know what we're going to spend it on, but we're going to spend it on something that has to do with entitlements that takes away your money, gives to somebody else who doesn't really need it because they're not really all that effortful. Um, yeah, so it's going to be a special 4 years, and the one the one things some of the couple of things real quick I did like but had some reservation on. I'm noticing that what are considered illegal drugs are being changed. The laws are changing in states to make them more recreational. And honestly, it's not the job of the government to be in that business in the first place. It's only important for the government to take care of your property, your life, and to uphold your contracts. So that's it. It doesn't need to do anything else. It doesn't need to say marijuana is illegal or legal. It has nothing to do with that. Just protect my life, protect my property, protect the contracts that I create in my business or I sign myself as an individual. So that's it. And let what will happen happen. Crime is what is the issue. It's not individuals living their day-to-day life. It's better to see individuals as they are in a positive light than it is a negative light. The more and more and more that we look at individuals in a negative life, just doesn't do it. I mean, just personally brings you down. Why would you want to look at life in such a nihilistic way? Everything should be dead and gone, and if it isn't, then go ahead and go destroy it in the first place. So it can be. Anyway, that's my talk and my rant on elections. Let's talk about numbers. So when we were looking at our numbers last week with our bookkeeper, we were shocked both positively and really negatively at this. And it was in a positive light. The third quarter was a huge success compared to last year's third quarter. Even with COVID going on, we blew out last year's numbers a lot, in the tens of thousands. So I was super excited about that. But we didn't make money. We lost money. And that is a huge issue. That is a massive issue for our business. That means all that work, all that heavy lifting, all that success really was in a lot of ways a failure because our company is not growing. It's just stagnating. And so that requires us to go back and take a lot more care with our purchases, with looking at trends that are happening in our business, and looking at ways to save, invest properly, and to move money in ways that will be more beneficial for our business, as well as move things such as our attention, like allowing the online ordering to take over phone calls, perhaps. Put more attention onto those avenues that are working but haven't got enough attention to really become the stars of the shows in their channel. And so when we were speaking with our bookkeeper, one of the things that we were concerned about in that regard was, does that mean that the odds of us to be able to get a sizable loan to be able to expand our business into a commercial facility so that we can see prosperity, we can see success, we can see achievement, and find a way to grow the business successfully and fulfill the dreams that we have. And unfortunately, it does not look like we're able to even qualify for that sizable loan. And the problem with that was those numbers. Though we made a lot more, we were not able to hold onto a lot of that. And that was the biggest issue. So it's going back, looking at how we can modify that issue, or mitigate it, get it out of the way, and make it so that we are bringing in a lot more money. But more importantly, we are saving or holding on to at least that money for which we've earned. So I'm going to suggest to you guys a book that I'm actually going to, the second of the three books that this author has written, to see where it is that we are messing up. And right off the bat, the author of the book hits on, without a doubt, the numbers. The numbers are the reality. How you um, create the systems, what numbers that you look to follow, the outcomes, goals which you are trying to achieve, are all factors that can create a real foundation for where you are at the moment and what is possible from there, or what things need to be changed in order to achieve those outcomes. And so the book that I think you guys should read is from, the author is Keith J. Cunningham, and the book is The Road Less Stupid. I love the title of this. It really depicts the importance of thinking, of thinking, of thinking. One of the biggest keys to, or keys to the vault, as the author says in the book, is what he defines as thinking time. Really sitting down, concentrating on what's going on, and thinking through different scenarios, thinking through what has happened, thinking through what can be, what needs to be modified, thinking through how to create the systems for success. And he goes through some different scenarios of how to do that. It definitely is going to be a little more open-ended because every single one of us has a different business. I know a lot of you bakerpreneurs have your own strategy for your business, or your own niche as well. And so how you achieve it's going to be different than how I achieve it. So definitely give that one a read. It's also an audiobook. I actually listened to it twice, an audiobook, and I'm going through another one of his books now, The Ultimate Blueprint, which is more on the actual effort involved, the processes involved, as opposed to the more general target points, or keys that which he discusses in the Road Less Stupid. So definitely check that one out. I'll highly recommend it. Oh yes. So one of the things that he mentions there, so there's different, I guess you can call them positions within your business. There's an operator, there's an owner, there's like an investor, and I thought those were great points, because I was thinking, like, goodness, we got through October, which was very rough, very successful, and then what did we as owners accomplish in October? And thinking back about it, and just reading those first few paragraphs that re-emphasized points from The Road Less Stupid that I read in the Ultimate Blueprint, I realized it's almost like a no-duh scenario. So blatantly obvious, and yet was just not apparently obvious enough to become a reality, and that is we were operators. Me and Priscilla were operators. We were doing all the work. Every single task that was necessary was done by us, but being the owner of it, managing the systems of its success, was just, it was intertwined and sprinkled within, but it was not the primary, it was more the secondary. And then on top of that, being the investors in the business, being the ones who are putting down the dollars or putting down the knowledge to make the business run, to see it achieve its goals. We put none of that time, none of that focus on the investor perspective into our business. And so, yeah, so I can see now why we put in so much effort, made so much success, so much money, and didn't hold on to any of it. And all we got were the memories of being successful in the jobs we completed. But as owners, we saw no success in any systems that we put down, because we didn't put down any systems other than some simple ones, like how to track the orders that are started and completed and so forth. There's no systems on managing cash flow. That was a huge issue, an issue that we've not been addressing and not been focusing on tightening enough. And so with that, obviously, are going to be issues with finance. And that was exactly what happened. And that's, though terrible, it shines a light on the opportunity now that we have to really focus on the finances and ask around to other business owners that we know who are successful. What are the numbers? What numbers should we be tracking? And are there other types of numbers that our business is a niche in that we should probably put some more emphasis on? Like, for example, though our online ordering process does show us metrics, Priscilla and I have not sat down together to take a look at those things to really gauge what is working and how do we promote what is working more and get rid of, or at least pause or put less effort on that which is not working. So that was a key thing that we've realized and will be doing over the weeks to come. Definitely not happening this week, because this week is freaking nightmare. So it's operator full swing. There's no way around it. But also the important thing of switching away from operator, focusing on owner, focusing on even on investor, maybe just focusing on investor before owner, because of the aspect that we need to find a way to systematize what it is that we're doing, and really emphasize what is working best. And it just obviously sounds like a no-duh factor. Of course, that's what you should be doing. I'm telling you now, especially if you're a new bakerpreneur, you're just getting into the bakery business, it is not something that you're thinking about. You are operator all the way with a very high, I guess you could say, a very high sense of achievement in your mind to get things going. I would highly recommend systematize. If you can systematize it, do it, but don't go to the extreme where it's so nitpicky on the most minute thing that you're simply not able to even operate. It's systemization overload. That could be that, so every single, if like every single recipe that gets created, I have to do exactly 3 test runs, and then I have to do this, and it has to be done this other thing has to be done this way. I wouldn't recommend going too far down. Instead, is systematize your operation for getting orders out the door. Systematize a couple ways to do marketing, definitely in an organic way. and do so with particular outcomes in mind, with goals that are achievable over time, with an outcome of which you're trying to get in the long run. And do those and see what's working. And after a time, keep that which is working or modify that which is not working or get rid of that which is not working. And don't look back, but keep in mind what those were. Have it written down if that's something that works for you, and don't go back to what is not working. And that's really what I can recommend. Those are things that we've done in the past. We were very good at, especially early on when we had a lot more time to give to focusing on how to systematize, how to make everything operate like the like the perfect Ferrari about to go onto a racetrack. But man, over time, when you're going through every turn on the road, you start to forget about those systems, start to forget about those goals. You might have looked at them last week. You just don't have time to this week. And then that lack of time to look at them is really a trigger, or I guess you could say a red flag, or it should be some sort of like bell alert in your head that you need to pull things back and take a look at what is working, what's not working. What have you stopped doing? Because that's what the reality is. So when you're operating, plan in or put in your time to focus on the numbers. Look at what has worked and what hasn't worked, and do so perhaps on a weekly basis. Just do it once a week. Not every day, not every single second, not once a month, and most definitely not once a quarter or any longer than that. See what's working, look at it over time, and change things accordingly. And that's really my biggest take on that. Always know your numbers. Know your numbers. Know where your business is, because honestly, the finances of your business are the reality of your business. Those are the things that is the number one barometer for your business, are your finances. If they're way up and your expenses are way down, you are successful. And if it's the other way around, unfortunately, where we were, especially for this past quarter, it's time to pull things back, see what it is that was failing, start making the changes immediately, so that those issues do not continue. And with that, I'm just going to sign off for the evening. It's going to be a little bit shorter one today. If you haven't already, please like this video. Appreciate the likes. Subscribe. Click the bell to know when I come on. I'm trying to shoot for 9:30, 9:45 on Monday evenings. Throughout the week, I'm going to post videos here and there, usually while I am on the road doing deliveries. Just something that's come to mind that I believe is an important note as a business owner to keep in mind when you're operating your business. And if you haven't already done so, or when you do have questions, please put them in the comments. Would love to answer those. Or if there's some kind of touch point, like on a video, or a topic, I guess you could say, of importance to you as a bakerpreneur that you really want to understand, put it in the comments below, and definitely would like to discuss that or put my thoughts around it, especially from our experience with the bakery. Until next week, have a good evening, everybody. Ciao.